We all love to create. As human beings, it's in our DNA. And through seeing some of my friends start blogs and podcasts, it seems like uni students like the idea of some sort of outlet to get away from their course. I personally put my creativity into music, and here's some tips I used to improve my creativity. Number 1, be consistent, but know when to take breaks. Consistency is key. If you consistently keep creating towards your creative projects, your creative goals, then over time you will start to see a vast improvement over just having certain points in time where you do a lot of work and then you stop for ages. And if you release your creative projects, you can start to get feedback from people and see how that shapes up against other things in your area. Taking breaks from consistency can be a good thing too. Because if you keep working at something constantly, you're constantly surrounded by it and you're unable to see changes, you're unable to see the good sides of it. And if you literally just keep staring at this thing, like sometimes I do with my music, I'll just stare at one project and be like, this is not working at all. And I'll take a break from it, come back, and I will find ways to improve it, to keep it going, and hopefully make a good end product. And that brings me on to number 2, which is stop critiquing yourself. So obviously when I say stop critiquing yourself, I don't mean just spend 5 minutes on something and then put it out if it's just unfinished and totally unusable. But I mean stop over critiquing yourself to the point where you think that perfection is the only thing that you can have. Casey Neistat said it best:
perfection is the enemy of good. And what that means is you can never let your desire for perfection prevent you from finishing something that's good.
My friend Wint Nang started a podcast, link in the description, about her med school life and all the other things surrounding it. And I remember that the day that she asked me to record an episode with her, me and my other friend stayed on a phone call with her for an extra 2 hours after we'd finished recording, just to let her know that the world was ready for this podcast. Another friend of mine sent me a picture of an art piece she was working on, and I thought it was great, but before I'd even fully commented on it, she started picking out the things that she thought was bad about it. And really, we all do it, but like I said with the quote from Casey Neistat, perfection is the enemy of good. Sometimes we just need something to be good, and then over time we can start working on it, working up, building that 1% improvement over time, and we will see real change. And once we release something, we can get feedback from the people around us on how they think that we can improve. And that brings me on to point number 3. Accept feedback. So the people around you will give you feedback, as well as other people who experience the thing that you're putting out creatively. I personally send my music to around 3 friends while I'm making a certain song and ask them for feedback and try to put that feedback into the changes. And sometimes it would be friends that maybe just listen to music as like a passing thing. Other times it might be friends who I feel like they would know a certain thing about the sound that I'm trying to gather. And also sometimes when we get feedback from people, when the feedback doesn't match what we already have in our heads, it's easy for us to dismiss that and just be like, okay, yeah, they don't really know what they're talking about, but I do. Sometimes we do need to focus on that feedback because that can be really crucial. Number 4, if it was easy, everyone would do it. No matter what your expected outcome is, it probably won't be easy to get there straight away. So you should just bear that in mind and use that to evaluate where you started from and where you are now and your development over that time. Number 5 is let the work speak for itself. Everyone loves to brag now and then. There's this game that I play with my friends called Fives, and essentially to get out of the game, you have to say, thank you very much for this game of fives without smiling. And I find it super hard because even just a tiny win in a game like that, smiling is just like half the fun of winning. That's like a little brag. But when it comes to creative work, don't oversell it. Put your stuff out into the world and let it speak for itself. Also, this links to a point of moving in silence, doing your work behind the scenes and leaving people to wonder how you did it in the time that you had. And this links to a nice TED talk I can't remember the name of, where it's basically like a lot of people don't achieve their goals because they say them out loud and then they feel like they've accomplished that thing just by saying it out loud. Whereas if you just keep doing it and you keep enjoying what you're doing, you're more likely to get to a better place. And finally, don't focus on the stats. Comparison is the thief of joy. if your creative endeavor is one that you hope to release into the world, then of course you want people to see it. And in that sense, you can get caught up in the statistics very easily. Like, I can't say that on the first day I release a single, I don't keep checking the stats every single hour to see how it does, because when you put a lot of effort into something, you'd hope that it will do better than your previous things that you've released or compared to other people. But it can be disheartening to see that the statistics just haven't gone the way you want them to go. Ultimately, think about it like this. If you only had 10 totally devoted people to your creative work and they were totally immersed in whatever you did, what would you do differently? How would you keep going about it? Would you even still keep doing what you were doing? And now back to reality. Look at stats not to compare yourself to other people, but to compare yourself to yourself and see how you can improve, because that will give you a steady self-improvement, whether slow or fast in certain areas. And if you just improve one thing per blog post, per release, per video, per podcast, people will start to notice your changes and start to notice the quality of what you're putting out, and they will want to see more. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please do leave a thumbs up and stick around, hit the subscribe button, because there's going to be more videos, more and more. Hopefully I can stay consistent over the summer, and maybe I'll start doing one per week instead of one every other week. We'll see. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.